let's keep things real now. I can't be the only one that's ever envisioned to themselves, what could Frank Lampard do with a squad and team like this, where on paper, a lot of these players kind of suit his attacking 4-3-3 ideas. It seems like we don't have to wait any longer, because today, Frank Lampard has been announced as our new interim manager. And in today's video, I want to break down the most important stuff. I want to break down the key points from Lampard's press conference, and most importantly, we have to discuss how we could line up under Frank Lampard. I'm going to discuss 3 possible formations and lineups I think Lampard could turn towards. And yeah, yet again this season, absolute new rules, new ways of playing, and new excitement hopefully to come from that, right? So my friends, if you guys are gassed by these recent developments, hit that like button, share your thoughts and opinions, and let's try and get 3k likes for Super Frankie Lampard. Without wasting no more time, right now, let's break down Frank Lampard's first press conference as he returns back to us as our new caretaker manager. Now, there was a lot of nice things to hear in this press conference, and I felt this was quite strong in general, in my opinion. So let's break down some of the key talking points from the presser today. We start with things and we learn about Lampard's incentives to do well here. As Frank said, he respects the role in which he has signed into. He's not getting carried away. He's not getting ahead of himself. He understands he is the interim manager, but he remains ambitious and he wants to do the best that he can always do. I mean, that is Frank Lampard. That is why he was the player he was playing for this football club. So listen, if he wants to get this, I think we're all kind of thinking collectively, okay, get us the Champions League, or get us as close to the table near the top 4 position as you can. Show us some real strong progression in this team and bring some identity here. If he can do a few of these things together, who knows what the future holds. But let's not get too carried away ourselves. Let's take things game by game and let's see what he does against Wolves first before we start getting too gassed and too carried away. We learned that Frank Lampard is excited to work with this squad. As he said, the talent we have at our disposal. There's a lot of great players here to make things work and for his ideas to work here. But at the same time, he also understands that there's some complexity behind working with a squad of this size and this magnitude, because some guys are naturally going to be unhappy if they're not part of the team. So it's up to him to make those difficult decisions. And I kind of like the fact that Lampard mentally is already ready for the fact that he's not here to please everyone. He has to do what's right for the football club. We need to have clear ideas behind the main players that are going to be part of this club for the next few years, and the guys who aren't really going to be here. Already we know that, but that isn't reflected in the game time that's been given to these guys throughout the season. So that is the key thing to sort out. And naturally, we move on. And of course, we were expecting Mason Mount to become part of discussions. And as Lampard said, he doesn't want to get involved in Mount's current contract talks, but he's known Mount for a very long time. Just as he's known Reece James, Tammy, Tomori, etc., etc. And it's great to see how these guys have grown and how they've developed. But he's going to be talking to Mason Mount. And of course, he already understands the level of performance that he does get from Mount. So are we going to be surprised to see Mount starting in midfield against Wolves this weekend? I don't think so. In terms of Lampard's target, he wants to instill the highest confidence in every player in the squad and win as many games as possible. If he can raise that belief in players, then anything can happen in terms of goals being achieved. Now let's focus on Lampard's interim position. I thought his answer was quite interesting. He said that, of course, having previously worked with interims like Roberto Di Matteo, Gus Hiddink, he had many favourable moments with these guys, many favourable experiences, and he said that because he's in that same situation, it's no surprise that he is going to turn towards the things that he's learned from guys like Di Matteo, Gus Hiddink, etc., etc. And I like to hear that, because it shows at least some growth, some understanding of I need to improve things, I have to do certain things differently as well too. And obviously, if you've been in that situation yourself, it only makes sense to draw towards the positivity that you got from these interim managers, because when interim guys came here, we still ended up winning things. That was the crazy thing. So let's see how this season ends up playing out. So right now, we're in the final point, and that is Frank Lampard's message to us fans. Lampard said that he's thankful to the fans that are thankful that he's here. And for the fans that aren't thankful that Lampard's returned back, he has an answer for you guys, and that is, he wants to give you a team we can all be proud of. And I think that's the right message here. But the one thing I really liked from this press conference today was this particular quote from Frank Lampard. And he says that he feels like he has clear ideas behind what he has to do to get us firing again. And it's just like, wow, like I'm liking the riz. I'm liking the confidence. That's what I want to hear. Now it's got me thinking, what are these ideas necessarily? How could we look? And I guess right now is probably the perfect time to segue into discussing predicted lineups that Frank Lampard could turn towards. Share your thoughts and opinions, and of course in the comments, let us know your lineup too. But anyway, let's get straight into things. So right now, let's start with lineups. And immediately, my brain is kind of going into these directions. I'm looking at Cover and Kepa. I feel like their positions in the team right now are looking a bit shaky at this point in time. Who knows what the future holds for them, especially for Kepa, because Frank Lampard doesn't necessarily rate him. So let's see if Kepa still keeps that place. Obviously, guys like Pulisic, could he get greater game time? Ziyech, could he find himself back in the team because he's playing a more familiar role that Lampard originally signed him for? So many possibilities, so many lineups. I'm going to break things down into 3 lineups, and I guess to start with the first one, this is the realistic one I could see us using against Wolves on Saturday. Obviously, as you're seeing, 4-3-3. Defense, Ben, Badia, Fofana, James in midfield, Enzo, Kante, Mount. And up front for the Wolves game, I'm expecting Aubameyang to return back to the team. Up front, Felix on the left hand side, Aubameyang up front, and Raheem Sterling on the right hand side. And I kind of think that when I'm hearing Lampard saying that he has clear ideas on how to get this team working, I think Aubameyang comes back in the equation, because we can't forget that Lampard was a big fan of Aubameyang, and before we signed Timo Werner, there were discussions behind the scenes over the availability of Aubameyang. So Aubameyang is going to feel a bit more confident now and think, okay, maybe I can get back in this team. And obviously in terms of pure goal scoring, on paper, he's probably the best one we have. So if he gets minutes against Wolves, that's going to be interesting. And I think this type of front three could work. You know, you've got the pace and behind and goal threat Raheem Sterling, the creativity and connected play of Joao Felix dropping deeper, running in behind, making things happen. But for me, the cooking, the meal, this is prepared in midfield. Kante in the middle, Enzo on the right hand side, Mount on the left. I've only wanted to see this midfield 3. That's all I wanted. I'm a simple guy, my friends. Obviously, Kante just marshalling things behind. And I've always felt like as Kante's getting older, does he necessarily have to affect the game in both boxes? Could be like add longevity to his years if he played a bit deeper, because Kante snuffs out counterattacks. Kante's in the right position. The guy can easily play in front of a back 3. That's a given. But for me, the real power comes from the box-to-box mids. Mount on the left-hand side. You know, he's like the second phase king. This guy kickstarts attacks. He gets on the end of them too. He hovers around the box. He takes shots from outside the box. He has great passing where he can speed up the play beautiful switch balls, play balls over the top. This is his best role. And for all the years he's been here, he's got a criminal lack of game time as an 8. So I need to see this against Wolves. And obviously Enzo Fernandez is a complete midfield player. He doesn't really have a best position because he's an anomaly that is good at everything. But playing as an 8, he was phenomenal at River Plate. He scored like over 10 goals. And Enzo can time his runs in the box. He can finish them. He can score outside the box. He can add his creativity outside the box too. The guy is so complete. And I've always felt like if you want to see Enzo go to the super heights where who knows if this guy could touch upon that legendary category, letting him have more license to affect the game in both boxes, I would like to see something like this. So this is my lineup. I'm guessing, of course, Badia, because he can't play against Madrid. He'd have to play. So that's a realistic lineup. Let me move on to the I got nothing to lose lineup. Like, come on, let's have a little bit of fun. Like, as you're seeing, obviously, the midfield of Kai on the right, Mount on the left hand side, Enzo in the middle as well too. Up front, I'd see something like Mudryk on the left, Felix playing false 9, and Raheem Sterling playing on the right hand side as a winger. Defense, Badia, Fofana, Ben, James, and Mendy in goal. Now, I would not be surprised to see Mendy find himself back in this team now that Lampard's here, because Lampard was a massive fan of Edouard Mendy. And even though Mendy has had some difficulties, we can't pretend he hasn't, one thing this guy does not fail in is his duties when it comes to defending corners, catching set pieces, authority and box commanding. And the guy is a phenomenal shot stopper too. When we won the Champions League, let's not forget how incredible he was in terms of making crucial saves time and time again. We can't take that for granted. Now that Lampard says new rules for everyone, could Mendy get a new lease of life now and show what we potentially be missing out on over these past few games, because there's been certain goals that Kepa has conceded. I'm thinking to myself, if Mendy was back in this team on form, is this a goal for the opposition? You know, I'm not too sure. Now, obviously up front, Felix being that false nine that you can drop deeper to receive passes from the midfield, to connect the midfield and attack. And by him dropping deeper, my thinking is, okay, you're looking at the eights making runs in behind into that vacated space. You're looking at the threat of Mudryk and Sterling that can also rotate out wides and also cut inside and run in behind and have that goal threat. Obviously, when Lampard signed Werner, I see Mudryk as like a more skillful version of the team of Werner. So this is my thinking behind how this lineup could look. And obviously, Kai Havertz. When Lampard first came here, Kai was playing as an attacking number 8. And for a few of us, I was one of these guys, yeah? I saw the vision behind that because I felt like Kai is so young that he can develop to do this. And an 8 role kind of encapsulates everything good about his game, because I think the thing that makes Kai pop is when he's ghosting in behind, when he's timing his runs inside the box, when he's using his acceleration, physicality to get on these moves. I feel like when I look at this team, yeah, the reason why we don't get goals is that we don't have any good runners inside the box. No one's committing themselves there. Like, I'd rather have Kai entering the box late compared to Kai already being in the box, anticipating leading the line. It hasn't worked too well, and I think a little tweak and difference like this could make a big difference. So that is the I got nothing to lose lineup. Share your thoughts and opinions on that. And for the next lineup, this is the I'm not here to mess around. Now, of course, we have Real Madrid after Wolverhampton. And normally when you have a big game ahead of you, you use the previous game as like your homework in preparation for your big game, right? So if we were to see a back 3 setup, like a 3-5-2 is what I'm envisioning, I'd expect to use something similar like this when we play against Madrid away. And obviously, as you guys can see in midfields, I've gone for Mount, Enzo and Kante. I think on paper, that's the best balance. And, you know, Cover found himself in 2 great positions to score against Aston Villa. He wasn't able to do that. And I was thinking, if that was Mount, because Mount scored a double against him at the start of the season, and he has better shooting technique and has scored more goals than Cover and more assists. If he's in that situation, I feel more confident at least that something can happen and chances can be buried. So we can't overdo it. That's a decent balance because this midfield works really hard at the same time and complements each other's strengths. So that would be my thinking. Obviously, Ben and Reece James as the wing backs, bombing forwards, stretching the play, widening the pitch for us. Up front, I wouldn't be surprised to see Aubameyang, but will it be Kai behind him? Because Kai playing that number 10 role, he does look really good and he has more goal threat. Or is it going to be like a Joao Felix who's going to be that creative focus? Obviously that links the attack, and obviously if Felix is there, maybe there's more license then for Mount to push further up when he has to, even for Enzo Fernandez. That's my thinking behind things. And obviously in defence, Badia, KK and Fofana, who's been magnifique so far and is way better than I realised. So that's my 3 lineups out the way. Share your thoughts and opinions. Don't hate me too much, my friends. There's no rules. We don't know what's going to happen right now, but they're my best guesstimations. So right now, let's end things by discussing final match prediction. And come on, like, now that Lampard's back, you can't tell me that with all this feel-good factor returning back into us, we're not going to lose against Wolves. We can't lose against Wolves, and Lampard has historically got the most points against them when he was our manager. Like, we all have that 5-2 win, and obviously I think the 2-0, 3-0 home win in the final game of the season too. Like, you know, Lampard knows how to beat Wolves. So is this like one of those blessings in disguise that he's come at the right time now? I'd like to think so, and I'd like to think that positivity continues and we pick up a win. So I'm going for a conservative 2-0 win. And my friends, on that note, I'm going to wrap things up and keep things moving. Share your thoughts and opinions. Share your predicted lineups. That's the key thing. And obviously give your match prediction. Is Lampard going to get his first win returning back as our interim? So my friends, I'm in EFC. This is BlueLionsTV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.